before we begin, make sure you have opened up today's workbook in the Files tab on Teams, saved a copy of it so you have your own version you can edit, and completed and marked the HIR. Today we are looking at major and minor scale patterns and major, sharp, and flat key signatures. This video is going to be focusing on recalling major and minor scale patterns. Scales are made up of semitones and tones, so before we can learn about scales, we need to remind ourselves what a semitone and a tone are. A semitone is the smallest distance between two notes, one key apart on the keyboard, for example, C to C sharp, G to G sharp, or E to F. A tone is just a distance of two semitones, or two keys apart on the keyboard, for example, going from C to D, G to A, or E to F sharp. A scale is a pattern of ascending or descending notes, formed with patterns of tones and semitones. Pieces of music will mostly use notes from one scale to make it sound consistent. We call this one scale the key of the music, which is why scales are so important. Our first kind of scale is the major scale. Major scales sound happy and pleasant. They are formed using this pattern: tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Or we can make it easier to remember by breaking it down to the first letter of each word: TTS, TTTS. For example, starting on C, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So, using this pattern, let's start working out some scales. If I wanted to form a D major scale, what would I do? Well, I'd start by recalling my major scale pattern, TTS, TTTS. Then I'd start at D and just work my way up the scale using the pattern. So starting at D, a tone up would give us E, another tone would give us F sharp, because it's two keys away. We've then got a semitone, which brings us to G. We've got a tone, which brings us to A, another tone, which brings us to B, another tone, which brings us to C sharp, because it's two keys away, and then a semitone, which just brings us back to D. Now it's your turn. How do we form a G major scale? So let's start at G and work our way up. A tone up from G would be A, another tone would be B. We've then got a semitone, which brings us to C. Then we've got a tone, which brings us to D. Another tone gives us E. Another tone gives us F sharp, because F sharp is two keys away from E. And then a semitone, which brings us back to G. But we can't always have a keyboard diagram in front of us when we're working out scales, so we also have to work out scales using notation. How would we fill the gaps in this A major scale? Well, first we apply a new rule about scales, which is that in a major scale, every letter name from A to G is included. What this means is that between the A and the C sharp, we have to have a B. Between the D and the F sharp, we have to have an E, and between the F sharp and an A, we have to have a G. Now these notes could be sharp, they could be flat, we don't know, but they have to be those letter names. Now, using our pattern, we can go through the scale and work out if we have to add any sharps or flats. So let's start on A. We go a tone up, that just gives us a B natural, a normal B. Go up to C sharp, go up to D. Then we go up by a tone from D, which just gives us a normal E, an E natural. We go up another tone, which gives us the F sharp. We then have to go up another tone. So starting at F sharp, we go 1, 2. This gives us either A flat or G sharp, but we know it has to be a G, so it's going to be a G sharp. And then we get back to A. So with that in mind, what is the error in this notation of the F major scale? The error is that it goes straight from an A sharp to a C, which is the right pitches, but not written correctly because there's no B in it. A scale should have every note name in it, so all we have to do is look at our diagram. We can see that an A sharp is the same as a B flat, so we're just going to change that A sharp to a B flat, meaning that we now have a B in the scale, so it's now written correctly, with every line and space used. Now, finally, let's complete this B flat major scale. What are the missing notes? So first, we're going to remember our scale pattern, and then we're going to work our way up the scale, following the pattern and including every note name. So starting at B flat, C, D. We then go have a semitone, so we go from D to E flat, then we go to F, then to G, then A, and then B flat. So that is the major scale, but that is not the only kind of scale we have in music. We also have natural minor scales. Natural minor scales sound sad or negative. They are formed using this pattern: tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, or TST, TST, T. They sound like this, starting on A. T, S, T, T, S, T, T. So, how do we work out a B natural minor scale? We start on a B, we remember our pattern, TST, TST, T, and we just work our way up the scale. So starting on B, first we go up to C sharp, because it's 2 keys away. Then we have a semitone, which brings us to D. Then a tone, which brings us to E. Then another tone, which brings us to F sharp. Then a semitone, which brings us to G. Then a tone, which brings us to A. And then another tone, which brings us back to B. Now, what are the notes of an E natural minor scale? So let's start on E and follow our pattern. First we go up by a tone, which gives us an F sharp, a semitone, which gives us a G, and then a tone, which gives us an A. We go up by a tone, which gives us a B, a semitone, which gives us a C, and then a tone, which gives us a D. And then that final tone at the end brings us to E again. Now let's try completing a scale. Can you complete this D natural minor scale? So our missing notes are, once we remember our process, an E after the D, F, then a G, then an A semitone up, which gives us a B flat, then a C, then a D. And that brings us to the end of natural minor scales. Now turn to activity 1 in your workbook, or if you have extension questions, continue watching for the extension work. So the reason we call it a natural minor scale and not just the minor scale is because there are different kinds of minor scale. We're going to learn about a third kind of scale, the harmonic minor, which is essentially the same as the natural minor, but now the 7th note has been made sharp. It creates a different sound and makes the scale sound more complete at the end. For example, this is what an A harmonic minor scale would sound like, with that extra leap at the end. So, How do we work out a B harmonic minor scale? Well, we would form a natural minor scale on B, like so, and then we just identify the 7th note of the scale and raise it by a semitone. In this case, we take the A, and we'd raise it to an A sharp. So the scale sounds like this. So, what are the notes, the missing notes of this E harmonic minor scale? The notes are, first, the missing note is G, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. Then we go up to the 7th note, which has been raised from D to D sharp, and then we go back to E. So it sounds like this. Now complete the extension questions in your workbook.